All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We are back. Continuing on with our.
Somebody said no sound.
Yeah, we got it together.
Okay.
We're continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. Today we're going to be dealing with Leviticus chapter 5. Leviticus chapter 5. We'll be looking at this chapter. We'll probably just go through it a little bit at a time because it has, different things that we want to talk about. What we want to say about this chapter, what it deals with is, wait a second. I got the wrong. Let me fix the title over here. Okay. 1 second here. Let me fix this. This is what we want to say about this chapter here. If a soul sins like this, okay, because this chapter is dealing with a few different sins that one may sin, and what the Torah subscribes that one might do about this or that, the particular sin. So we're just going to go ahead. I think we're going to just deal with the first verse all by itself, and we'll just read through the chapter as we go. So let me go ahead and pull up the scriptures over here. We'll go ahead and get started with the first verse. Yeah, let's just deal with verse number 1.
And when
no psalm this week.
Okay. And when a being sins in that he has heard the voice of swearing and is a witness or has seen or has known but does not reveal it, nor shall he shall bear his crookedness.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, if we was to look at this kind of this opening part here where it says, and when a being sins, could really be kind of a title for this chapter, because we could even see before we even keep going, verse 2 says right over here, or, right? Verse 3, or, right? Verse 4, or, right? If these various things happen, this is what you would do. So we want to go ahead and just deal with these a little bit over here. So the sin that is speaking of over here is if he has heard the voice of swearing and is a witness, or he has seen, or he has known, but does not reveal it. Okay, so it's interesting that just kind of just thinking about kind of the so-called culture that we kind of in the inner city kind of grew up with,
Saying it all.
and ain't said nothing about what you're saying, right? And so it's interesting that this thing that kind of became something that's kind of part of like the inner city culture where we're at. Um, it's something that's diametrically opposed to the Torah.
Like if you want to do these type of activities, that's where you go.
Yeah.
You go there.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And so what we want to do, we want to look at some of these things over here, these words. Because that's how we're able to get an understanding as to what these things are requiring of us when we look at what these things say in the Hebrew, right? And so we want to see this over here where it says, let's see here, and hear the voice of swearing. We want to look at this over here, this word here. There's a word that says kol, which is to call aloud, a voice or sound, a loud bleating, crackling, to cry, to proclaim, a proclamation, right? It has all of these thoughts, ideas of, making a pronouncement. I think also part of this, in terms of the context of this calling out or this pronouncement, is kind of in a official type setting, and so it's basically, the Israel, back in the days, we didn't have like a courthouse that we went to, right? There was the elders that came together and made rulings on this or that in the sight of the people, right? And so if somebody was on trial, and you hear a witness that's contrary to what you actually witnessed, and you don't say anything, this is what this is talking about over here. Like, what really happened. You hear them saying what they said happened, and that that's not what happened, right? And so your silence is the sin, right? This is the thing where it says he will bear his iniquity. Okay, so again, we think about the fact that, I guess to a degree, because of how things were, something bad was going to happen to you, if you did do that. If you did, snitch, right? Right. You put snitches and get snitches, to say the least, right? But it really is a shame that, kind of the place where we are, it's almost as if it makes it, I'm not gonna say impossible, it makes it hard for right to be done, right? And that's just how things are set up. We're in this land, it's not our own. You know, and we got to sit up here and, you know, I mean, their system is a wicked system anyway.
It's built off of
But we want for things to be able to be right, and it's like it's almost set up where it just can't be right. But like in a perfect scenario, you know, again, talking about this in terms of this kind of public setting, you know, you're bringing sin upon yourself by keeping silence. And then we could even just think about, just from a principle standpoint, you know, if we're followers of the Most High, if we're followers of the Most High, and we see an injustice that could potentially be rectified by our witness, it's almost as if the Most High is putting that responsibility on us to do what's right. And the consequence is something that's connected to what it is that He has for you, right? And so we could either think about what an individual might say or do to us if we was to snitch, right? Or what the Most High has for us, to what He would say or do to us, if we quote unquote didn't. I think when we think about this in the context of Israel, you know, you don't have that, right? Because, you know, people want for justice and rightness to be done, right? And so we can think about that. Really, I would think about in terms of, you know, I think part of us being lights and being representatives of Yeshua, it, you know, is, you know, letting people know that they're, you know, things that they're doing is contrary to the Most High. Like, we have a witness to something that's been done that somebody's lying about.
Hold up, only God can judge me.
That's what people want to sit up there and say, right? And when you think about this over here, that's true, because when you don't say anything, He's the only one that knows, right? Nobody knows but Him, right? And so that's true. You don't know where the volume is. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this. I want to look at this word some more. Well, another part of this verse over here, this swearing part, because we get this voice part over here, this voice of swearing, this calling out of swearing. Allah
is
imprecation, curse, cursing, an oath, or swearing. Okay, not like a cuss word, right? If I'm putting a curse on you, or you know, or, well, don't say blessing. Actually, this is interesting because it's an oath of swearing. A curse, it don't have the positive part as far, it just has the curse part.
I swear I did not do that.
Well, that's kind of like an oath, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's one thing if I'm putting a curse on you,
That's different.
or if I'm putting a blessing on you, right? How Balaam tried to curse the people, but the Most High say he couldn't curse the people, right? He can only bless them.
So when somebody might say to you like Allah bless you, it's really like a curse.
Yeah. Well, you know that he is.
Well, yeah, but I guess it could be a curse, but it could be something that's like, he's not. I'm saying for me, I don't think of him as being real. You know what I mean?
Oh, right, yeah.
As an idol, like it's. So you could maybe you try to bless me, but it's not anything to me. Like, people like I have, looking like we look. Sometimes people automatically think that I'm a Islam or something. They be saying,
especially the Arabs.
Assalamu alaikum and me. I just say peace.
I know what I say.
I don't hit them back.
Hey, Duke and Papa John, you always say, Assalamu alaikum all day. I'd be like, Shalom alaikum, Hassan. But hey, but when I read that Allah, it's very interesting, Elder Chris, because in the Quran, it tells you that Allah is the best of the deceivers. But when we read Torah, we know that Yah do not lie. He do not change. But it also tells us in the scripture who was lying from the beginning. Who is the chief deceiver? So my question is, that word Allah, is he Hasatan? They both share that same title, the chief deceiver.
Yeah, this word, when you look at this word over here, it says it's an oath, a sworn covenant, or a curse, right? The word signifies an oath to testify truthfully, like what we see over here in the verse we're looking at. A sworn covenant bearing a curse if violated. Interesting. A curse from Elohim for covenant violations. Okay, so it seems as if it's dealing with, so the reason why that we look at this and it says that it's a curse or an oath or swearing is because you have the oath part and then you also have the consequence if the oath, right, the consequence if the oath is not kept. And so when you put, it seems when we put these together in terms of the calling out and the Allah, this curse or cursing or oath, I think putting those two things together kind of have it where it's kind of like this. I don't know what version this is, the CSB. It says when someone sins in any of these ways, if he has seen, heard, or known about something he has witnessed and did not respond to a public call to testify, he will bear his iniquity. I think it has something to do with kind of the an official situation. And we can think about the way that with all of these commands, the laws, the Torah in general, when we look at the Torah, when we do these things, it causes us to behave in a way that the Most High behaves, right? We exhibit his character. And so when we see wrongs, when we see injustices, when we see things that aren't being said right about this thing or that thing, as the Most High is having for us to actually speak up, right? To testify against these things. Okay, so the first thing that I think about when I think about this is, I just go back to the Ten Commandments, right? Because we always just say, this is about a lie. But verse 16, what's that? Verse 16.
You do not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Right? We always think about that as a lie, right? But I think the same thing can be said in terms of this over here when we think about the idea of having this false witness, this false testimony against someone. Like this is the same thing, but it's like the other what we looked at over here is kind of your silence, right? You're not saying anything. You're not letting the truth be spoken. You're allowing for a lie to be to live. But over here now is the other side of it where you're the one who's doing the lie, right? But it's really the same thing. It's just different sides of the same thing where either I'm initiating the lie, or I'm allowing that thing to stay alive by not saying anything.
Ooh, there is a consequences for keeping quiet.
Right. Both of these things, are things that are contrary to the Most High and what He wants. Right. Let's look at something over here that we see that Yeshua has to say. Go up to Matthew 15, 19, and 20.
For out of the heart come forth wicked reasonings, murders, adulteries, whorings, thefts, false witnesses, slanderers. These defile the man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile the man. So you can do that.
Right. Okay. Very good. So we see in this list of these things that deal with the heart, right? Wicked reasonings. That's interesting. Wicked reasonings, but what we're looking at over here is this false witnessing, right? As where we could really kind of, again, we could couple these things together, whether we're talking about you doing the false witnessing or you refraining from witnessing when you know that there's false witnessing being done, right? These two things are equivalent to each other, but it speaks to the wickedness of somebody's heart, right? Who allows the coldness that is there for you to, for one to make this to have this false testimony towards somebody, which potentially is going to cause them to I don't know, Israel didn't have jail. You didn't go to jail, right? You was banished or you was killed, right? You was kicked out of Israel, which, you was never to come back. So it's just like being
excommunicated.
Yeah, like excommunicated. But like, to your family, they don't see you anymore. What's the difference? If you're dead or if you're just out of the camp, you don't see them anymore, right? It's the same basically.
You did to us. I guess that's the lesser.
Yeah, you did to me.
Yeah, you can live, but not with us. You did to us.
You're gone, right? And so these are the potential things. Look, it's put with murderers, right? Murderers, they get killed, right? adulterers, right? It's put with all of these, it's all in the same bunch that Yeshua is sitting up here putting these he's created this category that describes the defiled man's heart. And we have this thing over here that we're looking at here today, this idea of false witnessing or allowing a false testimony to remain alive. Yeshua over here is, he puts this into this category of, the wicked heart that a man has over here. We want to go back to the Torah. We see over here, if we go back to Leviticus, but chapter 19 and 16.
Do not go slandering among your people. Do not stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am Yahweh.
Okay, very good. We see over here, we're dealing with the second half of this, but when we see the first part, do not go slandering among your people, slandering was in the list that Yeshua just had over there, right? Mm-hmm. With the sexual immorality, murders, adulterers, slandering, and false witness. But where it says, do not stand against the blood of your neighbor, I am Yahweh. Now, this really is the same thing as what we're looking at in Leviticus chapter 5, in terms of if I see that, if I'm able to help my brother and I hold that to myself, and me holding this to myself ends up being essentially the end for my neighbor, right? I'm standing against the blood of him, right? I have a way to save him, but I don't say anything. And so here's interesting with this verse, you have this idea of slander where you kind of speaking against people. It's like this is the evil tongue verse over here where you speak against people, right? But then it has this opposite where you're holding your peace, you're being silent, but it's the same effect. Both things are harmful to the person. And so when we think about this in terms of how we can relate to these things for now, these it's very important for us to understand that this thing that this testimony, right, that we have, that we carry, this knowledge that we have of Yeshua. There's people who need to be hearing about the master, right? And we have this testimony that actually has the potential to set people free, right? The blood avenger is coming to unleash his wrath on those who aren't connected to the Most High, lest they receive and accept the testimony that we have of Yeshua, right? And so it's really the same thing when we look at this over here in Leviticus chapter 5, where there's something that we know that helps the individual that could potentially free um, this person from bondage, it's necessary for us uh, to deliver this message, to not hold our peace, in this matter, because as it says, we will bear that guilt. Um, I talked about this once before. I had this a long time friend of mine who our quote unquote religious lives wasn't really part of our friendship, right? We was just friends with each other. For like he's this guy, one of my earliest childhood friends, right? And even as we was coming up, it was like, um, when we got to like high school and a little bit beyond is where I kind of started to like, just be in my young rebelliousness, and he, found Jesus, right? And so, we kind of separated because the things that we was doing, he he wasn't hanging no more, right? And so when I left town and came back and kind of rededicated myself, and he's kind of still on that thing. Still like at that, when we kind of reconnected, there still was like, it was like we was cool again and we could do things, but it wasn't like I wasn't, it was like a line that I didn't cross. I know how I felt about, Sunday worship, Jesus, and all of this stuff. And I know how he felt about the things that he was doing, right? But I never had the conversation until I had the conversation, right? Um, because, I just felt like, all this time, what's the difference? What's the difference between this guy and somebody over there? Right? It's even more so I should be talking to him than somebody that I know, right? Somebody that I'm supposed to be tight with. Um, I'm not showing him that I love him by not saying anything, right? It's probably one of the last conversations that we actually had because he's in the church, like that's his life over there. But I no longer have that on me, the fact that I never talked to him about it, right? Because I really started feeling a certain kind of way, like, how come I didn't, like, and I'm saying that, we might feel like that about people that we know, but I think the same thing to a degree is true about people that we don't know. We one of the things that the Most High has commissioned for all of us as believers in Yeshua to do is to to spread his gospel, right? And so when we see people out here who have been lied to, right, and who have accepted the lie, I think it becomes necessary for us to not allow for that false testimony to go, unchecked. You can't convince everybody of everything, but you can say, well, I said what I could say. I did my part. You know what I mean? It's not up to you to turn the whole world, but I think it is up to you to to be at least in your circle, people that you touch, for them, for it not to be like a mystery of this thing that you do over there. Like they should know, right? It shouldn't be a thing where I just looked over at the other day and I just feel like, this don't apply to you. You got the thing on your car, on your hat, on your shirt. This don't apply to you. But I'm saying that people should know what you're doing, right? And then not just be like this thing. Oh, that's this. I'm not sure what it is that he, right? I'm saying people that you touch.
Yeah.
I'm saying that should be like the bare minimum of what we do to ensure that we're not allowing a false witness to be told.
Right.
Hey, can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
What really stuck out to me when we was talking about that, saying something, keep it quiet, was of course Ezekiel 3, 18 through 21, and followed up with 33, 6 through 9, if you don't mind.
Hold on. What is it?
Ezekiel 3, 18 through 21. Yeah.
What did I say?
It says, when I say to the wrong, you shall certainly die, and you have not warned him, nor spoken to warn the wrong from his wrong way to save his life, that same wrong man shall die in his crookedness, and his blood I require at your hand. But if you have warned the wrong, and he does not turn from his wrong, nor from his wrong way, he shall die in his crookedness, and you have delivered your being. And when the righteous one turns from his righteousness and shall do unrighteousness, when I have put a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because you did not warn him, he shall die in his sin, and his righteousness, which he has done, is not remembered. And his blood I require at your hand. But if you have warned the righteous one that the righteous should not sin, and he did not sin, he shall certainly live because he has been warned, and you have delivered your being. I'll back that up with the 33, 6 through 9. I precept that with that one. Chapter 33 and 6 through 9. This complements everything you have just said regarding this matter. What do you get there? I love this one. But if the watchman, there's so many watchmen, in Israel today. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and shall not blow the shofar or trumpet, and the people shall not be warned, and the sword comes and take any being from among them, he is taken away in his crookedness, and his blood I require at the watchman's hand. And you, son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. And you shall hear a word from my mouth, and you shall warn them for me. Say that again. And you shall hear a word from my mouth, and you shall warn them for me. When I say to the wrong, O wrong one, you shall certainly die, and you have not spoken to warn the wrong from his way, that wrong one shall die in his crookedness, and his blood I require at your hand. But when he have warned the wrong to turn from his way, and he has not turned from his way, he shall die in his crookedness. But you have delivered your being. So yes, there is a consequence for keeping it quiet.
When we think about this in the context, we see Israel, where Israel was at a place where you know, there were individuals, there was ones who the Most High would speak to, and he, you know, required it of that one who he was speaking to transfer the word that he had gave to him to give to the people. As to where us in this day now, this thing is expanded, right? To those when we become followers of Messiah, right? When we allow Yeshua to come and live and dwell in us, we become those like these watchmen over here, right? So it's not as if, you know, he's just talking to like one guy out of the whole nation, right? That's what he did at the time of these verses over here. But when we move forward and see what has happened with Yeshua dying and the Spirit being poured out, when he poured out his Spirit on the sons and the daughters and the young people dream dreams and the, you know, seeing visions and all of this. And so, you know, it becomes now a responsibility of all those who are true followers in Messiah to be as these watchmen. Okay, what does this? Somebody has a comment over here. Let me get my cursor. Let's see. So if we turn a blind eye to a brother or sister and just walk about as sin, we see, then we will be judged? Question mark. Yeah, we can't turn a blind eye to the sin of our sister and our brothers. If I sit up here and I see, you know, I'm saying and generally speaking that, you know, this is the people that we associate with, you know, as far as a tight circle or not, right? The people who know you and deal with you on a regular basis on any level, I'm saying shouldn't have to wonder about the way that you live. But people who we gonna say is a brother or a sister, no, we can't sit up here and look at people who's our family connected to us by the bond of Yeshua and see them doing this or that and not say anything. No, right? By all means, no. How much more so, I would say, to people who you would consider a brother or a sister, that we, you know, we most definitely, you know, we can't not speak to those people. No, absolutely not. Okay, so let's keep on going over here, because again, when we look at this, it's giving us, again, we're able to see the character of the Most High in these things, right? We know that the Most High cares for his people Israel. And so the equivalent would be for him to say, well, yes, I love Israel. They're my only begotten, my firstborn nation, right? But then he don't help us to do anything. He don't lead us anywhere. He don't point us in the right direction. He don't point out our sin and give us a different way to be. No, he does the exact opposite of that, right? He shows us all of these things. We're in the position that we are right now, you know, based on the fact that he loved us, right? So much so that he is chasing his firstborn son Israel, with the express intent that we turn back to him. right? He chastises those that he loves, right? And so people that a nation or people whose life is perfect and don't have any problems, those are the ones that should be worried, right? Because the Most High said He chastens those that He loves, right? If you're not getting no chastening from on high, we got some systematic chastening. We go along for generations and generations. Like we either the most cursed and done away people, or the most loved. One of the two, right? either we just got curse on us and we never going, nothing good's never gonna happen, or
everything they said about us was true. Either everything they said about us was true.
Oh, what you mean? Everything they
good,
said?
Yeah, we lazy, good for nothing.
Yeah,
born to be slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either that's true, or the Most High love us. One of the two things is true. All right, and so
Where's both? I mean,
I don't know.
I
don't know. Man. I'm saying, like, if it's both,
different
like,
time frames,
yeah.
The love is the chastening. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
I mean, I love my son, even though I did things to punish him. I still loved it.
Right, but what I'm saying is that when we look at that, it's like the chastening comes because you want there to be like correction. Like we want some
order.
Like I'm doing something that's going to hurt you, that's going to be uncomfortable for you, so that you don't keep on doing this.
And that's another opportunity to bring people to the truth, because a lot of people who are being chastised don't understand why.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
Why is it
they
like
don't.
this?
They don't have the connection that this is the Most High doing it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an opportunity for us who know the truth to be like, yeah, brother, yeah, sister, you need to correct this, this, and that, so you won't be getting this wrath.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
that's what I put two and two together. I was like, why are we treated like this? Like it didn't make no sense.
Yeah.
But I seen it, I'm like, it's the Most High doing it.
Right.
It ain't just the people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Most High. I'm like, wow.
And not only that, but when you started correcting that, what started happening?
Life started changing.
Absolutely.
You was able to at least operate better. And
absolutely.
I
mean, of course, you're gonna have the.
Of course, we still in the situation, but
it's not the same. It's absolutely not the same. Like, I've never been blessed more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And still, not saying that everything is perfect in all of our lives.
Right.
But we on the path, and the Most High is blessing us because He knows that we're on that path to that straight and narrow.
Life become more tolerable.
Right. Absolutely.
Or everything you can just deal. It gives you the power to deal with whatever come your way.
Right.
As opposed to getting weak and making rash decisions, being wicked, and doing things that's outside of the scripture. Because you know why it's happening now.
Right.
And so,
it's interesting because when you think about it, it's not as if now that that Yeshua found me, that now my life is perfect.
Exactly.
But it's like being in the in the Liberty tunnels. The tunnel's pretty long, but you can see the end of it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's a long tunnel, but traffic. Eventually, I'm gonna get over it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like I can't even see. Like I can't even get out.
Yeah.
Like I'm just stuck in here forever. Like there's no
Right.
There's no reprise to this. Like we know that we have hope in Yeshua. And then it don't even gotta be like this kind of like non like untangible thing. Like you know, I can only speak for myself. I have just bumps in my road. But I'm not forsaken by any means. Right? I my journey is there's peaks and valleys. Because I'm alive. Like I'm living a life, right? I have ups and I have downs. But I know every step of the way that the Most High is with me. I'm not forsaken. I'm not just out here and I don't have like hopeless, right? And when we have a genuine relationship with the master, he brings us to certain realization that over there is some light. And if I keep on moving in this direction, I'm going to get to the light. Right. And so, we need that. And then not only do we need that, we need to be kind of the facilitator. I don't want to say facilitator, but proponents, propagators. We're the propagators of that. The promoters of it, right? We have to be able to be those ones to be able to let other people know that, yes, I'm living in the same world that you living in. And my life was messed up worse than it is right now, but now it's better. Not because I became a better person, but I got connected to something that's better, right?
Which leads to you becoming a better.
Well, yeah. I'm saying it's not because of my own power or strength, but because of what the Most High has blessed me with and caused me to be able to do, right? And so we have a witness, and it's our responsibility to let that witness be known. Okay, so let's keep on going over here. Let's look at
we only read verse 1.
yeah, that's just verse
all that was verse 1.
let's look at verse 2 and 3.
Okay. But when a being touches any unclean matter, or the carcass of an unclean beast, or the carcass of an unclean livestock, or the carcass of unclean creepy creatures, and it has been hidden from him, he is unclean and guilty. But when he touches uncleanness of man, any of his uncleanness by which he is unclean, and it has been hidden from him, when he shall know it, then he shall be guilty.
Okay, very good. So let's look over here at talking about various uncleannesses. So we look at this word here, which is tameh. Tameh, foul in a religious sense, defiled, polluted, or as it's mostly translated as unclean. Okay, so when we think about this idea of uncleanness, this is what we see over here. Let's see here. Let me pull up my trusty whiteboard when we think about tameh.
You ready to start drawing?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
We go over here. Tame. Let's see here. Tame is a tet. A mem. And a, oh, is it an olive? Yeah. An olive. Okay, so Tame, a tet is this a little basket. It's a basket. It's like a container. Something that holds things. Right? Mem. Water. And olive. Olive is a ox's head. Okay, so when we look at if we think about this container, right? A container that holds this water, right? A container that holds this water, and then we think about the ox's head. Really, this is just going to be something that kind of intensifies the whole thing over here, right? And so if we just thought about these two things over here, if we have water in a container, it's just sitting there in the container, right? It's kind of stagnant, right? If I sit up there and put a bowl of water out on the back porch, for a day, maybe it'll be good, but after that, bugs will start getting in there, and mosquitoes probably laying their little eggs in there, and start to turn green because stuff start growing in there. Right?
You just set up a new home out there.
Yeah, for
Bacteria.
Yeah. And so when we think about Tame, that's what this thing is, where it's just it's something that's stagnant. It's something that it's not fresh, right? It's there's no movement to it, right? And so again, we think about this word is giving you this uncleanness. And so it's interesting when we look at this over here, if a person touches it as any unclean or this Tame thing, he says all of these things, and it's hidden from him, and he comes to know it, he will be guilty. And so it's interesting when we think about this, because when you look at some of these things, if you know about these different things over here, some of these things actually go away with time. When you think about touching unclean beasts, or touching even humans in their uncleanness, carcasses, these things, all of these things are things that you're unclean for a time, and then at even you become, you're unclean until even, right? So it's not like you have to do anything in order to become clean again. It's just like a time thing. Your uncleanness is you become unclean, and then it times out, basically, right? And so when we think about this now, where it says, and it is hidden from him, and then he comes to know it, he will be guilty. And so again, thinking about guilty, this guilt that's connected with it, this asham, this shame that's connected with it. Understanding, what's the problem over here, right? Because again, we're talking about this thing that's going to happen to you, that it's going to go away. Like it goes away. Like it's not like there's something that I have to do to, not like some of these other things where I'm bringing a sacrifice, right? But over here, with these things, with these different things touching this carcass or this unclean thing, or touching a human being or whatever, you have this idea of this uncleanness that goes away. And so, but what could happen though now, what could potentially happen though is, when you know that you have touched a thing, right? That's unclean, and then you become unclean, then you don't go around and be causing other things to be unclean.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I wouldn't say, well, I'm unclean, so but I don't really care about it that much. I'm gonna go ahead and touch these other people over here. Yeah, man, just pass it on. Because when you think about it,
Like COVID.
like, I don't know if we talk about COVID. Right.
You know you sick.
Right.
You're still coming around.
Yeah, just let other give it, passing your uncleanness around. On purpose. But we know that in terms of thinking about it in this context, it was necessary for uncleanness to be separated from the tabernacle and the tent, and where the holy things was at, right? There had to be a separation, right? And so you had to maintain that separation and not be a spreader of uncleanness, right? And so you had to do something about your uncleanness, in terms of not, like I said, not being somebody who spread the thing around. And so you couldn't know about your uncleanness and not do something about it. If you didn't know, that's one thing, right? You didn't have no idea that you had touched this or that thing, or even became unclean. But if you knew that you was unclean, you had to behave accordingly, right? You wasn't going to see your guy on his way up to the sacrifice, and you wasn't going to go up and put your uncleanness on him, right? You would just be like, how they say, that they would make pronouncements, like if you was Tomei, if you was unclean, you would say that you was unclean, so that people would know from over there, and then they wouldn't come and mess with you because they didn't want to have the thing on them, the uncleanness, right? For the sake of keeping everything in a particular way. Again, this uncleanness is something that goes away, right? You remain unclean until even. And then once that time has passed, you just wash and it's done. But again, you wasn't knowingly spreading uncleanness, right? And so, it caused me to think about, well, we live in this time now. It's like, as far as Tomei, as far as uncleanness, everything's unclean.
Yeah.
Right? You go to the store, who knows who's in there? right?
Well,
You go
you
anywhere.
don't want to know, probably.
Sometimes I'll be looking at, like, you go to the meat counter, and I'll be looking at the people like, I don't want you to get my meat.
It's just so much. Like, we just live in this place this place is just a filthy place that that we live in, that we where we go, the people who we come in contact with, it's just all over the place. But I think what we can gain from this is that, again, thinking about this idea of uncleanness is not as if you're dealing with something that's sin, because uncleanness isn't sin, but to understand that to not deal with this uncleanness properly would bring about then something that could be connected with sin. Yeah, and so it caused me to really think about things that may not really be that serious, right? This might not be that serious, but this thing that's not that serious, if you allow for this thing to keep on going and to grow, it could turn into something else.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what this is over here. This is uncleanness. It disappears overnight. Right, even we think about a woman and her uncleanness. Right, if it's just a weekly uncleanness, it's just uncleanness. It goes away. She just washes and that's it. If there's an issue now it turns into something else where she gotta bring offerings and things. But if it's just regular uncleanness, it's just about washing and separation, right? But again, we have to think about things that how do we deal with the things that we know that there could be an issue with if unchecked. I said this before, I always think about the fact that the scriptures don't sit up here and say that I'm not able to have wine. People will sit up there and be like, if you supposed to be a follower of Messiah, that you can't sit up here and be drinking wine, and try to sit up there and say, all drinking is a sin. Right? The scriptures don't talk about that. Right? The feast days, they talking about going and go get the strong drink. Right? But and so I know that in and of itself is nothing. Right? But with certain ones, it could be something. Right? If you got a problem, and I know that you got a problem, I'm not going to sit up here and participate in this thing that I know is an issue for you. And so it's the way that we think about things that are nothing, that depending on who you dealing with, what you're doing with that knowledge. Right. I know that I can't do something that's lawful in your sight for your benefit, because I know how to I have discretion, and you may not have discretion. Right. I'm able to just say, oh, that's enough for me. And you're not able to do that. And so I think that we have to, when we look at this, at least when I look at this verse over here, it causes me to think about the idea of how we deal with certain information that we have that could potentially be problematic for people. Just like over here, like this uncleanness, again, it's not sin, it's not a problem. But if I don't let people know that I'm Tom May, and then I touch somebody and cause them to be Tom May, they could go over and cause other people or things to be unclean. I'm saying in the context of the tabernacle and all of that. So I have to be able to keep certain things contained. And so again, we're not living in those times. If we're talking about Tom May, everything's Tom May. We're in a perpetual state of uncleanness as far as uncleanness goes. But in terms of the idea of being able to understand your surroundings and not to allow certain things to grow and spread, for the purposes of the greater good, we have to be able to use discretion and know, how to prevent potential things from happening. Because when we look at this is all about potential, because there's no sin that happened over here. It's just I inadvertently touched this thing that's unclean. Now I'm unclean. The only thing now that causes a problem is now what is done with this potential, because it could turn into more than what it already is. And so again, when we looking at this, it just caused me to think about, us, as ones who are supposed to be, trying our best to walk in righteousness, that we have to deal with potential problems, something that's not even a problem, but we want to keep problems from even being, right? And that's how we had to live our lives like this. We have to be mindful of the things that's going on around us. Something that may not be an issue for you could potentially be a problem for somebody else, and you trying to not cause your sister or brother to stumble is going to cause you to behave differently, right?
Yeah, that's being proactive,
Yeah.
Like instead of being passive and just letting stuff happen, you take control. You and being aware,
accountable.
Yeah. All of that stuff, right? Because this person had to be proactive. He couldn't be passive. He couldn't have touched the thing and then somebody, oh, yo, what's up, my man? And him not even do nothing. Because now once he did that, now he doesn't allow his friend to come and now get himself to be unclean. Or he just went ahead and did it, then he go back to his house and then make his whole house be unclean. Right. And all of this stuff, like this waterfall, this avalanche thing that he done created because he wasn't because he was passive in this thing that really wasn't even that big of a deal. Right. Where this thing that's not sin could be turned into sin because you didn't never check it. And so again, that's something that we have to be mindful of and think about, is where just because something's not an issue for you, it could be an issue for somebody else, right? And we have to be able to be able to use discretion and have restraint in things so that that we're able to help others in that, right? Okay, let's keep on going over here. Let's look at this one over here, because this one over here, let me see how far I want to go down with this. All right, I guess it's just the next verse. All right, let's look at verse number 4.
Or when a being swears, speaking rashly with his lips, to do evil or to do good, whatever it is that a man swears rashly with an oath, and has been hidden from him, when he shall know it, then he shall be guilty of one of these.
Mm-hmm. So we want to look at this. Says over here where he swears speaking rashly. Right? If his soul is to swear pronouncing with his lips, oh, it's this word here. Bata. Bata. To babble, vociferate. Interesting. Vociferate. Cry out with to cry out with vehemence, to exclaim, to utter with a loud voice. Oh, that's just talking loud. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's look at this here. Bata again. Babble, angrily pronounce, speak. Okay, so if a person kind of just blurts out this oath, right? If you just blurt out this oath, it says, this version says thoughtlessly blurting it out, right? To swear thoughtlessly. Let's see, is this word, how is this word used here? Because it's not, let me see here. Pronounce, pronouncing, spake, speak unadvisedly. Let's see what this verse says here. Because they embittered his spirit and he spoke rashly with his lips. So it's one time used in this way of having the idea of, not thinking. Mostly it's just a loud pronouncement. But I think in the context of what we're dealing with over here, we could think about it in that way because of the fact that, when you look at this thing, if we just thought about it as doing this oath and speaking it loudly, people are hearing what he says, right? This verse is talking about holding you accountable for the thing that you said. And so in the event that you say this thing loudly, whether it be speaking rashly or not, other people have heard it. You've put this thing out that you said you was going to do, whether it be good or whether it be evil. This verse over here is saying that you are accountable for what you have said. Okay. And so we can infer the whole thoughtlessness to it because, let's be honest, sometimes we sit up here and say things out loud that we may or may not have any future intention on doing or having a follow through with the thing. And so just the simple fact that we've done that, there's a degree of thoughtlessness with it. You just blurt out a thing, you just say a thing, you didn't really think about, everything that goes along with what you said. But this verse over here is saying that, you are accountable for this thing that you've said. Okay, and so we have to be able to be held accountable to the words that we speak, right? Because there's no takebacks. Right? You can't go back on what you said, right? You said this or that. But what are you actually going to do? Hold on, what's this person saying over here? This is interesting how this portion involves speaking things, yes, warning, swearing, being a witness. Now, right? Yeah, there's all of these speaking things that are involved, speaking things or lack thereof, right? Let's look at some couple verses over here. If we go to Proverbs 10. I think 19 is our verse, but I just want to read 18 through 20. Proverbs 10, 18.
He who hides hatred has lying lips, and he who sends out slander is a fool. When the words are many, transgression is not absent, but he who restrains his lips is wise.
This is our verse right here, but what's 20 say right there?
The tongue of the righteous is choice silver. The heart of the wrong is of little value.
Okay, very good. So this is a verse that I was wanted to look at. Is this 19?
Man,
Right?
you can just put a beat to Proverbs and just be rapping. Right? That's real bars right there. Real bars. Yeah.
That's rockle bars.
So when we look over here, right, it says, when words are many, transgression is not absent. Right? When you saying all kinds of things, some of that stuff you saying, you didn't have no business saying that. All right? Transgression is not absent.
Yeah.
From all of those bitty words that you speak it over there.
Absolutely.
Did you ever hear somebody, they speak, they sound so profound in the beginning, and they go on and on. Next thing you know, you look at them like, oh, you went left field. Wow, where'd that come from? And I tell people this when I be doing speaking engagement, I let them know straight up, okay, it's time for me to stop, because if I continue to go, y'all gonna ridicule me because it's not in the Ruach. See, I've been blessed with that, man. Ruach will tell me, shut up, sit down, or you be talking on your own, you be looking foolish. So I do it.
Yeah. And so over here, right, it says over here, he who restrains his lips, that one is wise over here. And so when we think about in Leviticus 5 and 4, where it talks about this idea of thoughtless or loud swearing of something that's evil or good, right? The Most High is holding you to this thing that you sitting up here saying. Right. And so we have to be careful about the things that we say, because using up here saying, well, this or that, but the Most High is taking you for your word. Right. We sit up here and think about, the thing is, we think about oaths and swearing as like a thing that we go through. Right. We sit up here and people go and testify and in court, and you do, it turns into an ordeal where you put your hand on the Bible and you swear to say the truth and all of that. But the Most High is just taking you for your word. If you say this or that, you said something, right?
Yeah.
Yeshua said, just let your yes be yes and your no's be no's. He's basically saying that what you say out of your mouth, that is your oath. You don't gotta sit up here and swear on the heavens, because you didn't make the heavens. Right? You can't sit up here and swear on the earth because you don't got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
The thing that you said, that's what it's gonna be.
So you ain't even make your mama or your siblings. People be like, I swear on my sister. I swear on my brother. I swear on my mother's grave.
Yeah, like,
man, she's not even here to take any consequences of it.
Exactly.
just saying, just talking.
Right. And so, we have to sit up here and know that the things that we say out of our mouth, the Most High is he's holding you accountable to that, right? To what you said. And so, we have to think about that, because, we got examples. If we look over here, let's go over to let's go over to Judges. We go to Judges 11. Judges 11. All right, let's just read. Let's start reading at verse 29.
Says, and the spirit of Yahweh came upon Yitha, and he passed through Gilead and Manasseh, and passed through Mizpah and Gilead of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed on towards the children of Ammon. And Yitha made a vow to Yahweh and said, if you give the children of Ammon into my hands, then it shall be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I run in peace from the children of Ammon shall belong to Yahweh, and I shall offer it up as a ascending offering.
Okay, very good. So when we look over here, and see this person, he just said something out of his mouth that he didn't have no business saying.
He was rash with his mouth.
He was rash, right? But we got a problem. There's a huge problem with this, right? And so when we look over here, where's my cursor at? We look over here, there's a problem with what he's done over here. Because he just said, whatever happens, whatever come on my door, I'm gonna offer it. Burnt offering, that's everything burned up, right?
What did he think was gonna come out of the door?
I don't know. Maybe the thing
like dogs and stuff.
Well, the thing is that when you see the historical layout of their homes, right? It's like the people like would live like in these houses up like apartments up top, and they would have their cattle and stuff. Not cattle, but animals down below. And so it ain't nothing.
Not one of the chickens.
It ain't nothing for one of his lambs to have come out of the door. It's a possibility. I mean, but it was also a possibility for his daughter to come out, right?
Yeah.
So he was just speaking rashly, right? But you can't just be out here speaking rashly, because what do this say right here? Verse 2.
When a man vows a vow to Yahweh or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he does not break his word. He does according to all that comes out of his mouth.
Okay, and so there's no get back. If you said it out of your mouth, that's what you gotta do. Period, point blank. And so that's what we're looking at over here in Leviticus, right? If you sit up here and make this oath, whether it's good or whether it's evil, you're gonna have to be held accountable to what you said. And then the Most High doubles down on this over in Numbers 30, chapter 2 said, you as a man are responsible for what comes out of your mouth, right? You must do what it is that you said you're gonna do. What these people saying over here in the comments over here? It said, Matthew 5:37, but let not your word yes be yes and your no be no, and what goes beyond these is from the wicked one.
That's what Kadar said.
Right? What goes past your yeses and your nos is from the wicked one, it says. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, we can't sit up here and just be saying all kinds of things, right? Because again, we get to saying all kinds of things, then it's gonna give. What did it say? It said that it said in the multitude of words there once not sin. Oh wait, what was that version that we just read?
So there's no lack of.
There's no lack of transgression, right? And so we got to be about the things that we are up here saying, because the Most High is holding you accountable to those things.
I used to feel like that when I used to go to court in front of the judge, and I used to get kind of petrified when that judge asked you, Elder Chris, do you have anything to say? And you did it, but you see it out, and you like, I'm going to run through this door. And so I get to talking. I'm convincing them, but I'm also transgressing because I'm lying like crazy. And these people believe in me. And once I see them believe in me, I'm going to keep going until I'm sure I got it sealed. You feel me? I'll get back to my cell. Yeah, I might have beat the case, but I'm being convicted like crazy, man.
Well, at least you was lying to them and not the Most High.
No, I wasn't lying. I was asking the Most High to forgive me. They my enemies. I'm justifying it with Abba. Abba, they my enemies. They want to do this to me. Please forgive me. No, but still, though, I just felt convicted, knowing that I was doing that.
Yeah.
As
you should have, because it was coming out your mouth.
Right.
And so you might say, well, I'm sitting up here, that's what I'm saying to them, but to the Most High.
Yeah, I'm justifying it.
But
well,
really,
I ain't do it to you.
Yeah, but really you was.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but we not able to make those separations where we say, well, I'm just gonna say what I want to say to these people. The Most High knows how I really feel.
He knows my heart. Yeah, he also said something about that heart too.
Yeah, he knows your heart, right? That's the problem, right?
It's the most wicked.
You do have a case though, with the Most High, let a lying spirit.
Yeah, and I used to bring that up for you. See, I've been conditioned to believe that if we bring the Most High in remembrance of his own word, he loves it. Because it shows that you're reading his word, and it shows that you're applying it also. That's like your daughter say, you make a promise to your daughter, if you do this and this and that, I'm buy you a new dress. And she bring it up to you, Daddy, well, you said, you're like, wow, you was really paying attention, weren't you? Yes, I was. I did everything you asked me to do. Now you said this now. You can't go back on your word, huh?
Yeah, I think that just the key is understanding the character of the Most High, right? And so when we look over here and we see that the Most High is trying to, keep us from, speaking rashly. Let's do what it is, whatever it is that you're gonna do. If you're gonna say you're gonna do it, do that. Don't sit up here and say that you're gonna be doing this and we'll be doing that, and you never gonna do it. All right. And so we have to get to the place of just letting our if we don't know, like, listen, I don't know. It's some powerful words.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Them are some powerful words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And more people should speak them.
More people should say that.
Mr. Larry still owes me.
I don't know. Those might be one of some of the three most powerful words in the existence of English.
I don't know.
Right?
It's okay. It's okay. Say, I don't know.
I don't know. And something that's even better. Something that's even better than I don't know is just plain old just no.
No. Yeah.
No, I can't do it. No.
Why? Because I can't.
No. I mean, I don't even have a reason. Just no.
Yeah.
Right? Because so many times you get set up here and this or that happen, and you sit up here and give yourself to this one or that one, when you could just escape everything and just say no. You just, how many times you sit up there and tell somebody that you was going to do something, knowing the whole time that you did not want to do it,
Y'all willing.
knowing the whole time you didn't want to do it, right? But you sit up there and say, okay, I'll do it. Meanwhile, while you saying it, you thinking of how you gonna get out of doing it. Oh, you know what? This happened. This had came up. I can't even. Well, you could have just said no. I love that word. No, I love it. Sometimes you gotta just be like, no, no.
You're right.
Sometimes you just gotta be like, no. Sometimes you just gotta be like, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know. Well, you sit up there, get to explaining something, and then meanwhile,
Yeah,
it's all kind of you saying all these words, and you know that's all kind of transgression. You just transgression just full of that because you just talking, right?
yeah.
I'm saying that the Most High is giving you these things over here, just letting you know. Don't just be up here, just talking loud with these oaths, whether it be good or evil, because I'm going to hold you accountable for the things that you say. And it's literally wrong for you to tell somebody that you will do this or that, and then while you saying it, you thinking about how you gonna get out of it whenever it comes time to make do on the thing that you said you was gonna do. Right? Is anything beyond yes or no is just from the wicked one.
Yeah, I don't know has become y'all willing. She's exactly right. I love saying
Somebody said that.
Y'all willing. My Akati Ima. I tell my granddaughter that a lot. Y'all willing, because I would say no, and then she would say, why? 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 And I had to explain to her. You know why I don't explain why I say no? I said, because I really don't want to tell you why, because it may hurt your feelings. And I don't want to get the line behind it. Now she understands that. I said, when you tell me no, do you really want to tell me why you saying no? Because you'll just make something up because I don't have it. Yes, you do. You just don't want to give it to me,
Let's go over here to James. Let's look at James 4 and start reading at verse 13.
Oh, man, here comes James 4.
Amen,
A lot of
James.
James. Come now, you who say today or tomorrow, let us go to such and such a city, spend a year there and trade and make a profit.
That's a real specific, ain't it?
Right? We're gonna go over here, start the business up,
Florida.
and then we're
They're
gonna
selling
do that.
dreams, right? Selling dreams. Yo, I'm gonna put you
Food
on
out there. It's everything's in here.
Everything, man. I love that about.
When you do not know of tomorrow, for what is your life? For it is a vapor that appears for a little and then disappears. Instead of your saying, if the master desires, we shall live and do this or that. But when you boast in your proud speeches, all such boasting is wicked.
Wow. All such boasting is wicked. That's just like what Yeshua said. Anything beyond just yes or no is just this other wicked one. You making all these plans and you don't even know what tomorrow even brings. If the Most High wills, it could be done.
Wow, that's really interesting, man. Because when I look at James 4:14, when I came back, Moray, that's exactly what I was thinking. I walked into my house and I'm looking at all these beautiful things in there, the stuff that I made. Man, with a twinkling of an eye, I could have been gone, and this would have been nothing, And I was sitting there. That's why I was so thankful to the Most High that I'm still here to finish this or finish that. So it made me think about, stop telling people what you're going to do next month. Next week. You ain't gonna do it unless it's I wills it. Like Tristan said, y'all will it.
Yeah, and so I mean, of course, make plans. Yeshua talks about in one of the parables, who sets out to build or begin a thing without counting the cost. We could sit up here and think about what we may or may not do, but it's always going to be dependent on what the Most High is going to allow for us to do. And so the thought is to just be able to keep the Most High in all of these things and not sit up here and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm getting this over here, I'm gonna do this over here. We have to be able to keep the Most High at the center of all of these things, at the forefront before all of these things, and saying, if it's His will, then I'm gonna be doing this, that, and the other thing, as opposed to saying, yeah, I'm gonna go up here and yeah, I'll do this, or I'm gonna do that, or making these proclamations without thinking about what it is that the Most High is going to have for us to be doing. Because again, the Most High is holding you accountable for these oaths and these swearings and these loud, thoughtless declarations that are being made, and you just bore false witness against yourself. Whatever you sit up here and say, I'm gonna do this and that, and then you ain't never did it.
Yeah.
Right? You just bore false witness against yourself when you sat up there and said, I'm gonna do XYZ on January the 3rd, and then the January the 4th come up and you ain't never seen LMN no P, let alone XYZ. Right? And so the Most High is holding us accountable. He said he gonna judge you. He gonna judge every word that ever came out of your mouth. And so we can't be out here having all types of idle speech and saying all of these things, and we're not consulting the Most High in these things, right? And we're not prefacing our thoughts with the idea that if it's the Most High's will that I do this or that. That's just something that we have to kind of get into our thoughts and our vocabulary when we speaking, because we out here making these oaths and we not even really paying attention to what we doing. When we think about Numbers chapter 30, he said, he shall do according to all. You is the he. You shall do according to all that proceeds out of your mouth. The Most High is going to hold you accountable to all the things that you allowed to creep from behind your lips.
That's right.
right?
That's right.
He's going to hold you accountable for those things, right? And we don't have a way out, right? There's nobody that sit up here that could cancel your words. As a man, nobody could cancel your words. All right. It talks about the wife or the daughter or whatever. That's different. But the man, nobody could cancel your words. Right? There's nobody to come behind you and say, nah, you ain't doing that. You accountable for that. Right? And so we have to think about that, especially when we're thinking about over here. We go back over to Leviticus chapter 5, where we're at over here. That shame, that guilt is upon you, right? You can't escape it. Like there's a consequence that is going to be connected with you saying this thing, and you know whether you've done that thing or not.
Hey, I take that back. What I said to you, right? Like I'm Men in Black.
Hold on, you taking?
I'm just saying. I'm giving.
You said something, and then now you trying to.
Yeah.
You can't take it back.
No, look, it's like look in my thumb. I'm gonna take this picture and erase that memory.
That worked in the movies, but it don't work in real life.
I take that back. I ain't mean that. I get in an argument with my old girlfriend in the 80s, her mom. And I told her, I was like, Peggy, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that. She said, no. You meant what you said. Your delivery might have been arrogant, but you meant what you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeshua said it best. He said, out of the abundance of the heart does the mouth speak. And so, that's what happens. We sit up here and say what all these things that we saying, and you said just what your heart wanted for you to say.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's necessary for you to stand on the things that you say, right? Because the Most High is said that He gonna hold you accountable to those things.
Right.
Okay, so let's keep on going. Let's read down now. Let's read down. Let's start reading at verse 5 over here.
And it shall be when he is guilty of one of these, that he shall confess that in which he has sinned, and shall bring his guilt offering to Yahweh for his sin which he has sinned, a female from the flock, a lamb, or a female goat as a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement for him for his sin.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is unable to bring a lamb, then he shall bring to Yahweh he who has sinned 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, one for a sin offering and the other for an ascending offering. And he shall bring them to the priest, who shall bring near that which is for the sin offering first, and nib off its head from its neck, but not sever it. And he shall sprinkle some of the blood of the sin offering on the side of the slaughter place, and the rest of the blood shall be drained out at the base of the slaughter place. It is a sin offering. And he shall prepare the second as an ascending offering according to the right ruling, and the priest shall make atonement for him for his sin which he has sinned, and it shall be forgiven him. But if he is unable to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, then he who sinned shall bring for his offering 1/10 of a ephah of fine flour as a sin offering. He puts no oil on it, nor does he put any frankincense on it, for it is a sin offering. And he shall bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his hand, fill with it as a remembrance portion, and burn it on a slaughtering place according to the offerings made by fire to Yahweh. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him for his sin that he has sinned in any of these, and it shall be forgiven him, and it shall be the priest like a grain offering.
Okay, very good. So, oh wait, I think it's just 5 more verses. Let's just read the rest of this, and we'll go back up again.
And
Oh wait, this is let me see this. No, we'll come back to this. So let's go back up here to. Let's go back up here to verse 5. because we see that it says that the one who's guilty of one of these things, now again, remember, these are specific things over here that he's dealing with. This whole idea of, hearing the voice of swearing, touching this unclean thing, and not doing anything about it, or making these oaths allowed. Those the one that's guilty of these things, it says, shall confess his sin over here, right? And so when we think about this idea of confessing these sins over here, right? The idea that we have to think about is owning up to the thing that you have done, right? When we look over here, this word for confess actually is yada. Yada. I want to look at that word over here. I don't know what keeps happening with my. Not yet. Hold on a second. Okay, so Yod, Dalet, Yada, and Hey. The ancient looks like this: a Yod, Dalet, and a Hey. Okay, so the word yada, which is translated as to confess, is this hand. Is this hand, the hand and the arm right over here. And then we have this over here. It's interesting that this word, phonetically, we just witnessed two of these things, just by the way. When we start off thinking about the word that is translated as voice, which is coal, which phonetically is the same as coal, which is a word that means all, right? Which is a kaf, and a vav, and a lamed. And so this word, yada, is the same as a yod. Phonetically, is the same as a word that means to know, which is a yod and a dalet and an ayin. But this is a yod, a dalet, and a hey. Different word, has a different meaning and a different spelling, but it's phonetically the same, right? And so, along with a breath, in terms of this hey, along with the idea of this word meaning breath, it also means a revelation, right? Or something being revealed. Okay. And so when we think about the hand and the tent flap, when you pull back the tent flap, the thing that's behind the tent flap is revealed, right? The thing that's behind the door is revealed when you pull it back with the hand. And so this confession is you pulling back the thing that's covering this this thing that you've concealed, right? Whether it's the fact that you've touched a unclean thing and touched other people as you was in your uncleanness, you're pulling the cover back on that situation. Or if you said a thing that you said you was going to do and maybe you did or didn't do the thing and you never planned on doing it in the first place, you're taking the cover off of that and you're letting it be known that you've done this, you said this thing, and you're confessing this thing, right? That's what this confession is. You're uncovering you're taking the veil away from this secret thing that only you know, and now you're exposing that knowledge to be known by others, right? You're confessing this thing. That's what we do when we confess. I have this thing that I've done against you. You always, all this time, you thought it was Elder Christian that did it, but really it was me, right? I'm removing the veil. I'm removing the cover, right? From
you're the Wizard of Oz.
All right. And so that is necessary, right? That's necessary. That's a necessary component. Is for the part that has been covered or hidden to be exposed, right? The confession, right, is not like it's specific, right? It's not just blanket. I'm sorry for all the things that I've ever done to hurt you, right? It's about remember that one time whenever I did XYZ, I'm sorry for XYZ, right? Not just blanket, like, let's just let bygones be bygones and forget about. You confess that in which it says he shall confess that in which he has sinned. The way that these particular things are dealt with is saying, oh, I remember whenever I saw what's the name sat up there and say what he said about so and so, and I didn't never say nothing, but I'm saying it right now that I know that that was a lie, and then I passively lied by not saying anything about it. Right? You're confessing what you've done, and that's the way in which you received your forgiveness by confessing. We think about in Yeshua. We think about in terms of in the new covenant when the apostles speaking about the idea of confessing Yeshua, right? And confessing our sins to Yeshua so that we can receive forgiveness, right? This idea of pulling the thing that's covering out of the way and allowing what's behind that thing to be revealed, removing all of the obscurity, right? That's a component of confession, right? Entering into going from the obscure to the explicit, right? It's necessary for these things to be revealed so that there can be, right, before he wants the offering and all of that, before the offering comes, before any of that, there has to be this this confession that happens, right? And so we have to be able to get to the place where we're accepting the responsibility for the wrongs that we do, right? Not just I'm sorry. just blanket, like, well, you sorry for what exactly?
Right.
Like what are you sorry for specifically? Like what is it that you it's necessary that covering be pulled back, right? Because if you're not being specific about it, you're not really confessing the thing, right? We might have differing opinions about what the offense was in the first place, and then you mess around and do the same thing again because you're not sorry from the way you're seeing it. You're sorry from the way that, you know what I mean? I'm sorry for the way I'm seeing it, but you're seeing it a whole other way, and you're offended in the way that you're thinking about it, and I'm sorry in the way that I'm thinking about it. But those two things are different things, right? And so the cover that's over top of this thing that's causing there to be a separation, that cover got to be taken back and revealed. But the only way that it's covered, that it is taken back, is that you actually dealing with the actual problem, whatever that problem may be. And so when we see this over here, it just says confess, right? But we got to think about what that actually is, right? And it's about dealing with the thing that was done, right? That's part of the process, right? Owning the offense that was made by you, right? And that's part of the repentance, right? That's part of the process of you owning your part. It's not just like some just random just non-specific thing that's being done. Is you actually owning your part in the transgression and accepting the consequences of it, right? And so, this is again, when we think about these laws, these law, statutes, and commands of the Most High, it's showing us how to exhibit the character of the Most High. These are the things that he has put in place to govern us as his people, Israel. Right? We're going to there's going to be times when we sit up here and we do things that's offensive, that brings guilt and shame upon us, right? But those things then have to be rectified, right? And that's what he's talking about. You're not just going to sit up here and just leave these things just be open-ended. They have to be dealt with, because otherwise it says what? The guilt, the shame is upon you, right? The guilt or the shame is upon you until you go ahead and deal with this thing by having this confession and then finally bringing the offering. It's a burnt offering, by the way, which is, burnt all the way up, right? So even thinking about that aspect of it, once all of that's done, is done, right? The thing is burned up, right? How many times we sit up here and somebody confesses their wrong that they've done, and you go through the thing, sorry and all of that for this specific thing, but we don't let the thing just burn all the way up. We just put that on our little Rolodex and put it in our little pocket and have that in the back of our minds forever. Like, you saying sorry, but I remember what you did, like, right? And just imagine if the Most High treated us like that. He's trying to show us how to be like him, because that's the things that he does. If he sat up here and kept a list of all the things that we confessed to and are sorry for and left behind us, and then but he kept on treating us based on the things that we've already done that we supposedly had rectified, you know, we'd be in a bad place, right? But the opposite of that is true. The opposite of that is true. We know that once these things have been fulfilled in terms of, you know, you bringing that offering, you making that confession for that thing, we know that he is no longer dealing with us in regards to these things anymore, right? These things are done. That was done. He forgets about those things. Well, he chooses to forget about them, right? Well, maybe he don't forget, but he just don't deal with you according to those things. He knows all of the things. Can he forget on purpose? I don't know. I don't know. But he don't deal with you according to that. Just like how they sit up there and at the court and somebody says something and the lawyer objects, and then the judge says to the people over there, don't pay any attention to those words that he just said. He asked the jury to forget what they've heard.
Yeah.
You know, from our perspective, I guess it's hard to think about. But even when you think about it in the process, even though they didn't really forget, that set of that knowledge that they have can't be incorporated in.
Yeah, they strike things from the record.
Yeah,
strike that from the record.
You can't use that as a justification for your ruling.
Strike that.
That's what the Most High does in terms of our wrong when we handle that wrong correctly. And so that's what he does, and that's what he calls for us to do as well. And so again, you know, we look at all of these things, it's all about you know, us acquiring and manifesting the character of the Most High and doing things the way that he would have for us to do, you know, when we operate over here, right? Just say it's behind us and we are renewed. Yes, absolutely. When we deal with these things correctly, right? But if we don't, then that guilt, that shame is upon us. Okay, let's see what else we got over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up the chapter. Go down to we'll read 14 down to the end over here.
Come on back, 14.
Yeah.
It says, and you always speak to Moshe, saying, when a being commits a trespass and has sinned by mistake against the set apart matters of Yahweh, then he shall bring to Yahweh as his guilt offering a ram, a perfect one, from the flock, with your valuation in shekels of silver, according to the shekel of the set apart place, as a guilt offering. And he shall make good for the sin that he has done against that which is set apart, and shall add 1/5 to it and give it to the priest. And the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering, and it shall be forgiven him. And when any being sins and has done what is not to be done against any of the commandments of Yahweh, though he knew it not, yet he shall be guilty and shall bear his crookedness. Then he shall bring to the priest a ram, a perfect one from the flock, with your evaluation as a guilt offering, and the priest shall make atonement for his mistake he committed unintentionally, though he did not know it, and it shall be forgiven him. It is a guilt offering. He was truly guilty before Yahweh.
Yes, very good. So we talked a little bit about this on last week in terms of this sin that's being committed unintentionally, and the fact that the guilt is upon you doesn't excuse you from it just because you don't know that you've done it. But again, we see that once we realize that we have done this thing that is a sin, then it's necessary for us to do something about it, right? And so it's understandable, when we think about this again, trying to think about it from a, kind of contextualizing this whole thing, it's easy for us to do this or that, and it be something that's, whether it's wrong to the Most High or whether it's wrong to an individual. But once we get to the place where we realize that we've wronged the Most High, that we've wronged an individual, that we've done something that's contrary to the will and the ways of the Most High, now it's necessary for us to do something about it. And, we can see this also in, within the verse when we think about the idea of, making this loud proclamation of a thing, and the Most High holding us accountable to the thing, right? Either we, make this confession of the wrong that we've done, or and somehow rectify the thing, that is done. Over here is saying, when we realize that we've done this thing that unintentionally, when we realize it, we do something about it, right? When you realize that you've wronged someone, right, then we have to do something about it. We wouldn't just let the thing just linger. You address the situation, right? That's what we see over here with the Most High in terms of what he's saying in terms of this offering that you're bringing, right? You're bringing this offering because you found out that you've done something that's against the Most High. Mm-hmm. And so again, we're not bringing offerings to the Father, right? There's no priest, there's no tabernacle, these things aren't set up. But we still wrong him. Right?
Isn't there a scripture in there that talks about how you bring a gift to someone you have wronged? Like a brother or sister, It's like a peace offering.
Well, we talked about the other week where Yeshua gives the example of when you're bringing your gift to the altar and you remember that you have an ought with your brother to lay your gift down and go fix it with your brother and then come back and then offer your gift to the Most High. But when we think about this in terms of applying this whole thing to to our lives, this is how not only is that how we should deal with the Most High, but we should deal with one another in that same way, right? If I know that I've done something against my brother, then I should be trying to figure out what I need to do to fix that before I try to do anything else.
You ever had a situation where somebody wronged you and then they cut you off like you did something wrong?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like so dysfunctional where, like I'm dealing with a situation now where somebody's slandering me, trying to justify, oh, it's because he was this or he was that. That's why I had to do what I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so dysfunctional, and that's why there's so much dysfunction in our community. We don't apply this to our lives.
Yeah.
This whole chapter, if we applied this in our community, it would be like so much better.
Yeah. I think in general, the Most High he's about, not only is he about reconciliation, but he's also about just having everything be laid out on the table. Like you can't be reconciled with everybody.
Right.
But I think at the same time there shouldn't be like it shouldn't be about some obscurity. Like say for instance, if somebody is said that you said something about them, and then they feel a certain kind of way and then they cut you off. Well, maybe you could go to the person and say, well, this is what actually happened. And you could actually take it or leave it.
Right.
But so that the air be clear and not let, things just be kind of unsaid. Like, I don't think that the Most High wants for us to leave things just to be unsaid. Like maybe you can never get beyond the thing, but at least it ain't because it's not like behind like some hearsay or whatever. And so I think that it's necessary, I would say, to have conversations, but sometimes everybody's not able to get back together, but at least all of the words that have been spoken that could be spoken. Not just to have things just be just out in the open or just kind of left in limbo. Sometimes people, that's not good enough for some people, and that's fine. Like you can't be reconciled with everybody, but here's what actually happened. Here's what the real story is. And then, if you can't accept what that is, then that is what it is, right? And so I think when we look at that and thinking about this over here, this is an example of something happened. I didn't realize what I did, and now I'm doing something about it. Right? That's what we see over here. I did something that was wrong towards somebody or towards the Most High even. But once I knew what I did, I addressed it. And so in how the Most High is dealing with things, like that brings reconciliation in his way. Because that stuff, what you did, I forgot about that. We sometimes all parties ain't always functioning according to the character of the Most High. So I might have this person who I deal with who's he's on the outside, and so you can do all that you can do, and since he's on the outside, he might still feel a certain kind of way, but he could feel that way, but you've done all that you can do. I'm saying don't don't let it get to a place where there's more that you're able to do that you never do. Like, we should be taking care of our part of the situation, right? And you can just deal with it however you're going to deal with it. But there's nothing that could be said about my part because I let it be known,
Right. Yep.
From my perspective. That should be enough for people that's on the inside, but people on the outside, they operate on a different rules, right? All right. What this person said up here, Matthew 5:23 to 24. What does that say? Oh yeah, that was the verse that I had said. Yes. And so that's how we should deal with things, right? We can't just, as far as of the Most High, believers in Yeshua, we can't sit up here and have these things this way that we're feeling about somebody. If you feel a way about somebody, then you supposed to go and say, look, man, the way you be acting is kind of like, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, the problem, the only problem is that people not sometimes as spiritual as they should be. Right. Right? Because it sometimes it's offensive for me to tell you about yourself.
Yeah. This then turns into, who are you?
Yeah. But I think what we have to get to the place of understanding is that, your perception of a thing is real.
Yeah.
That's real.
Exactly.
And so the way I perceive you is real, and the way you perceive me is real. And so if I'm telling you what my perception of you is, and that is offensive to me, then it's necessary for there should be give and take.
Yeah.
Right? If you're saying, well, that's just how I am, then that's you not being loving towards me, because the way that you are is offensive to me.
Yeah.
And I should be able to say, well, the way that you are is offensive to me, and you should say, oh man, well, that's messed up. That maybe I'll try to not be like that. And so I'm saying, like, that's how we should be
in the body.
Like,
yes, absolutely.
Right. But that ain't what happened, right? Oh, what? How you gonna sit up here and, like, we sit up here and catch feelings and things.
Right.
But the problem is that, let me just put my favorite verse up on the screen. Because it's sad to say, it prevents you from doing what you're supposed to be doing, because you realize that people, it gets so emotional about things.
Ooh, yeah.
But we gotta start doing things differently over here. Let's see where it's at. I think it's 165. Let me see what the KJV says. Which one I like the best? What that say right there, 165?
Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them.
Okay, so we out here sometimes, I think, just getting offended way too much to be lovers of the Torah. Because if you're a lover of the law, if you're a lover of the character of the Most High, and you want for the character of the Most High to be something that is manifest in and through you, everything's not going to sit up here and be offensive to you,
right?
Because that's emotional things,
and that's the line you tread for people who, because that's how you prove. I mean, look, everybody got levels, like how far somebody is and they walk, how far they walk down the path.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it come with exercising this and study, because it's too easy to offend people. It's like, wait a minute.
Well, I was going to tie it in with the scripture Romans 14:21.
Oh, hold on, let me get it.
It is good neither to eat flesh nor drink wine or anything whereby thy brother stumbleth or is offended or is made weak. So, something that might not be offensive to you, it might offend somebody else. Like you were saying, if somebody is doing something that's offending you, you know what I mean, and it's causing a rift, then a person who is spiritual and walking by the Spirit should be able to, stop doing that so it doesn't cause these waves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you have to be able to adjust around certain people who are not as strong as you in the faith.
Right.
And who it might cause them to waver. You know what I mean? So you have to be adjustable, flexible.
And that's why I'm saying that Psalms 119 and 165 becomes difficult, because I know that it's harder for me to be offended, but I can't expect for somebody else to not be offended so easily. Like, I understand where it's coming from. I understand why I can't tell you about yourself and everything be good. I understand that where it makes it more difficult. I understand that if I tell you something that you do that is offensive to me, I understand that you're going to flip it around and make it be about you. But at some point we have to be able to bring these things back and understand the character of the Most High, and understand that when we get into all of these things, that there's a way that He has for us to be. And when we're doing all of these things, one way is the way that He wants for us to be doing, and the other way is us in our carnality. And so eventually somebody who's striving to move forward in the Most High and do that which is pleasing in His sight will see this. And then you can see these things kind of come into pass. Again, when we look at the thing that we're learning from Leviticus chapter 5 is, not being a perfect individual. You made these unintentional mistakes, but once these mistakes have been realized, then doing something about it. And so that's just the same thing is like, you're sitting up here offending me. You're being offensive towards me. Maybe you don't realize that you're being offensive towards me. So it's necessary for me to tell you that you're being offensive towards me. So if we're making Leviticus 5, chapter 5 be something that's real in our life, that means if somebody's telling you something that you're doing is offending them, then it's necessary for you now to do something about it.
It's not. See, the way the world is today, most people in general think it's a soft thing for a grown man to admit to another man, yo, you hurt my feelings, man. Or, you're doing this to me. I don't like it. They think there's such things as coming forth saying that it's kind of like soft. Like you're supposed to just sock somebody. Man, pow! I'm a man. Well, you ever hear that grown men do cry? Grown men is not afraid to admit their pain. If the one thing hurt my feelings, I'll be the man to tell him that he done so. You feel me? And if you are a man who follows scripture, then you're going to make some adjustments that you might not hurt my feelings again, because you might not have known he was doing it. That's why.
Yeah. And so it's important, again, when we think about making these scriptures that got to do with sacrifice and things that we can't do, seeing the underlying spiritual significance that they hold. When we look at these things over here, it's about you making the necessary adjustments to what is being known to you.
Let me get one. Just go one chapter over.
Yeah, get one. Yeah,
Top
13?
Romans 15.
Oh, 50.
Not bad forward. I just said over. That could be anyway.
15.
Start at 1.
Okay.
15 and 1 says, "We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak, and not to please ourselves."
Very good.
Put that in the 20 what is it, 2009 version.
Oh, the scriptures.
In the scriptures.
Yeah.
I like how I read the scriptures.
It says, "But we who are strong ought to bear the failings of the weak, and not to please ourselves.
Yeah.
Let each one of us please his neighbor for his good, to build him up."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for even the Messiah did not please himself, but as it has been written, the reproaches from those who reproach you fell upon me. It says, "For whatsoever was written before was written for our instruction." That's key too.
Mhm.
People that we got to know this. We got to study this book because it's the instruction. So how we operating, So
Yeah.
that's how you can tell what level somebody's at and how they react.
How they react.
That through endurance
Yeah.
and encouragement of the scriptures that we might have the expectation.
Yeah.
And you know what? From talking to Maury Damiano a while ago, this was a while ago, like back in the day, a couple of years ago, when he brought to my attention, because I noticed when people like throw stones at you or they try to offend you when you in minor debates and stuff, and you'll kiss them, "Oh, you unlearned," and they always say that crap. And that was like a phrase that was taught in certain communities and clans. But I be watching his responses, and I'm like, this man is not bothered by anything. Then I realized, as he was explaining to me, so I put it together, and I'm like, those who are truly healed by, the Torah of love is not affected by that because they understand what that person is going through. You feel me? Which makes them say such things. So they're not offended by it. They're not, it's like they standing there, darts just bouncing off of them like boom, 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 boom. See, I look at people like that and I observe, which teaches me how to be humble.
Yeah. And when we look at this over here, it helps for us to be able to understand that, this right here is talking about discretion, right? Is where you not able to just be the same way with everybody.
Exactly.
Sometimes you gotta give people sometimes the watered down version,
right?
Yeah.
So that because if I sit up here and I sit up here and say everything the way that it is,
right,
you might not be able, you're not able to accept it.
Like if you tell a dude like, "Bro, you're acting like a woman right now."
Like, what? A certain dude gonna be like,
it could be true.
Yeah, but it's true though, right?
It's
saying I'm gay. But you gotta you
gotta know how to say it. Yeah. And then sometimes there's not a way. Sometimes there ain't no way.
Yeah.
Right? Because the thing is that when people like when you're dealing from a spiritual perspective, the carnality can't understand it. Right. And so you can say all the right things and it still don't be right according to that person. That's why I'm saying that. That's why I'm saying that it's necessary for us as followers of Yeshua, if we're dealing with those that's on the outside, who feel a certain kind of way. I think at bare minimum, it would be appropriate for there to be a conversation and not just to have things be left unsaid, but not necessarily looking for there to be reconciliation because the person is just they carnal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that is necessary for us to at least go ahead and just not to let there be things that's unsaid, because again, thinking about Leviticus chapter 5, when you find out a thing, you do what you're able to do to be able to rectify the thing. Now, if the person is not able to accept it, then there's nothing that could be done. But people on the inside who maybe they just got on the inside, then now you may put more effort into how you're presenting the thing for their benefit, because because they're this person over here, they have these failings because of the fact that they're weak. We're
Trying to build them up now.
they need a little more kind of I don't know, babying, coddling, I don't know, whatever you want to say. They need more they need more nurturing. That's better. See, even right there, they need more nurturing in their situation, so that they're able to receive certain things. And we have to be able to learn how to help people, right? Sometimes you gotta tell somebody something that's good about themselves, before you tell them there's something that's bad about themselves.
Yeah.
And then even finish it up with a good thing at the end. Just so that you could get out that thing in the middle, right?
Cherry on top of it.
Wrap it up.
Sometimes you got to sandwich it, right? This got to be said. But let me first hit you with this nice thing, and let me end off with this nice
soft
thing.
Blow, hard blow, soft blow.
Yeah. Sometimes it got to be that.
It.
Yeah, just to cushion the blow. But that thing in the middle, it got to be said. But let me just try to help it some with some of this other stuff to encourage you, to build you up. But I think the point is that we're saying over here is that something must be done about something that you've done that you didn't know about. Right? That unintentional thing can't just be left just in the open, because this, as it says, the scripture talks about that the guilt is upon you. Right? And so, we got to do our part out here to do our part to make things right that we've done, right? Because that's what this is talking about. Things that you've done unaware, that you've that have been made known to you. Now you got to do something about it. Okay. All right. So that being said, you might have any last thoughts or questions or comments?
I would like to say that, being able to be corrected and, accept, responsibility for the things that we do wrong against the Most High and against people that are, our brothers and our sisters, is one of the, I say, one of the highest skills to have, is to being able to accept when you're wrong and being able to correct that. it takes a very strong person to be able to accept those things and not make excuses, not try to justify whatnot, but just to hear out the Most High when he points at you, when he lets you know, because he's done it many times to me, and to be able to say, you know what, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And it takes a spiritual warrior to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I just encourage everybody to practice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very important. I mean, it's a like, if we're thinking about this in terms of what it's trying to get for us to say, I mean, that's a huge part of this whole thing. Being able to accept your part of the situation, right? If I sit up there and say, well, I did this or that to you, but it's only because you did that, and then you come back with, well, that's no, I didn't. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Both parties have to be able to get to the place where they, you're accepting your part in the situation, right? Or nobody's never getting nowhere if nobody's could be corrected. Everybody's right? There's no, if everybody's right, nobody's never wrong. Like, we're wrong out here, right? And it's necessary for us to be able to accept that. This whole thing is about being wrong and not knowing that you was wrong, accepting the fact that you was wrong and now doing something about it. Sometimes it's not the Most High cracking the sky open and knocking you down and blinding you to let you know that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's your brother saying, hold on, that ain't right. And then for us to sit up here and say, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I'm wrong. Right? That's what this chapter is talking to us about.
And I want to add something. Oh man, it's amazing, isn't it? This is like confirmed. This is Ruach confirmation. As I say, it's better to be judged by one who fears y'all now than to be judged by y'all in the end. You know how people say, only God can judge me. Hey, do you really want him to come down and judge you right now? Or would you rather for me or another brother to do it, or another sister to do it? Just like I would expect you to do it to me. I'd rather have either one of y'all judge me and have a chance to repent and turn away from it than to wait till the final day when it's all said and done and y'all judge me and I have no time to repent.
Yeah.
You feel me? So yeah, you don't want him to judge you like that. And I'll say that practice make perfect. Judges 5:11 is very, very keen in that. We rehearse the righteous acts of Yah, and in rehearsing the righteous act, we practice them. So practice what you preach doesn't necessarily mean you perfected what you preach, though we strive to be perfect, for Yah is perfect. And I'll end it with this. One that knows and recite the Bible shows they read it. Yet one that lives the Bible shows that they truly know the author of it. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Thank everybody for coming to.
Yeah, so that being said, we want to we want to allow, at the end of the day, the spirit in us, as followers of Yeshua. We want to allow the spirit in us to actually be changing us and causing us to walk in the character of the Most High, right? And one of the things that we see, especially from these verses that we're looking at today, is the idea of moving into the character of the Most High, right? Realizing that you've veered off to the side and being able through the Spirit to to get back on track. Right? That's what this whole thing is about, being able to understand, because how else do we come into the place that we're supposed to be, lest there's corrections and adjustments to our situation. Nobody, there's not no perfect ones walking around out here. And so your walk should look like, a series of corrections being made, right? Adjustments, right? You making missteps, right? And adjusting to those missteps, right? Doing something about these wrongs that you've done, and your life continually being guided by the roadmap that the Most High has put for us, which is the Torah, which is put in our hearts and in our minds through the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, so that being said, we want to thank all of the people who are here. Thank you for all of your little comments and additions to the discussion. We want for everybody to, like and subscribe to the channel, and keep on share the channel. We want our subscribers to be able to grow so that we can continue to pass on the words of the Most High that He's given to us. So we thank you. We say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And y'all willing, we'll be back on
Y'all willing
next Shabbat.